Okay, so quite often when you bring a file in from AutoCAD, you'll have to do some manipulation of individual objects to do a variety of things. Probably one of the most common things is you may need to separate solid objects so that you can apply different materials to different surfaces of those solid objects. There's a variety of different ways of doing that. For the time being, I just want to show you one method using a modifier called the Edit Mesh modifier. So let's look at how that works. I'm going to select this walls layer here and go ahead and isolate it. And I'm going to zoom in on my orthographic view. Just this area here, which is the lower floor of that first building, and let's go ahead and maximize that. So you can imagine that this inside face would be a different material than an outside face. So if we wanted to manipulate that and make sure that we have a different object to apply materials to, we can use an Edit Mesh modifier to do that. So we go here into the Modify panel, we find the Edit Mesh modifier, select it, and it adds itself to the modifier stack on top of here, the linked geometry. So we'll go here to the polygon level, which allows us to pick an entire face at a time, and we'll click on these two faces using the Control key. Hold down the Control key so we could select more than once. We'll go to Arc Rotate so we can orbit around our selected object, and we'll still need to do a little bit of panning here. Right click to get out of that, and we need to hold our Control key down again, make sure that we don't accidentally unselect two surfaces that we selected before. So holding Control key down, we'll get now all these surfaces selected all at once. Right click to get out of Arc Rotate. Now if we scroll down this panel, we'll find here a selection called Detach, and it prompts us for a name, and we can give this a name that makes sense according to the naming convention that we had before. Let's say we'll call it Walls Interior, or INT, and click on OK. So we'll need to get out of the sub-object mode here. So we now have an object which is completely different from our previous one, and just to note how this works here, you can see that those interior surfaces are separate from the exterior walls. So we'll right click here so it snaps back into its default location. So the last thing we'll look at with this particular file is deleting surfaces. So let's go back and exit isolation mode so we see our entire model, and let's select this particular object here. Now it's very possible that this upper part of the pyramid, which typically this is not part of the building per se, it's more like a mechanical penthouse or or some kind of screened in area. So and it may not even have a roof surface. So what we're going to do there is we're actually going to remove that top, and actually we'll do the bottom at the same time. So we could also go through the process of detaching that. So let's go ahead and start with isolating it. So Alt-Q. And maybe it'll be easier for us to work in a view where we can see the top and bottom very clearly. So let's go ahead and add our Edit Mesh modifier. And let's go ahead and, well, we could either scroll down here or open up the Edit Mesh modifier to go by face. Here I've used face instead of polygon. I'm just going to select all these faces like that using a crossing box. And let's go ahead and detach this first to, let's say we'll call this top of pyramid. And again, let's call that BLDG2. Click on OK. So again, that'll be a separate object, so we need to get out of this current object. So we'll get out of sub-object mode. We'll select on that object now. It's a completely different object, and it's an editable mesh, which is the equivalent of having an edit mesh modifier applied to an object. So what we'll do here is we'll go into the face level. We could do this in a variety of ways, but what I'd like to do is make sure that this here is set to window. In other words, the object has to be completely contained in the window for it to be selected. Select the top surface, hold the Control key down, select the bottom surface, and then go ahead and delete this. So what we'll get now is just the 4 surfaces of this truncated pyramid. So let's exit isolation mode to see our entire model. And let's just go back here to look at the select by name. You'll notice that we do have a couple of new objects in our list, building 1, ground floor. You'll see it hasn't been named identically because when you do link, it always appends the word layer, because it is converting from a layer to an object. So these objects here were created while we were in Max, so it just gives it whatever name we've assigned. So here's our scene now with the manipulations that we have made. A couple of different things that we have that we can control better the application of our materials, and we should now understand better how structure from AutoCAD in terms of layering systems can now be imported into Max and manipulated in Max.